if your life looks chaotic and a huge mess, and there just doesn't seem to be any time for you, and you are just doing all of the things, or maybe shit has hit the fan. Maybe your house just is burnt down. Maybe you are in the middle of a pandemic. Maybe your marriage is falling apart. Maybe your kids are going crazy because they're stuck inside. Now, you can probably see where I'm going with this. This is all things that happened to me. Guess what? You can still transform your life and have more joy, more freedom, more compassion, just more creativity, even in that space. And this is actually what happened. And here was the secret. The secret was this. When I started to see that everything was falling apart, I looked at it as, okay, I can either do one of two things. I can give up, throw myself down in the sand and cry and just say that life isn't fair. It's no use. Or I can keep my faith and notice that there's a fairy godmother out there and she's going to grant me all my wishes. Now, why did I use that analogy? Well, because the thing is that Cinderella is one of my all-time favorite stories. It was actually one of the movies that my parents will tell you this story if you ever ask about what Carly was like when she was a little girl. I'm a very dramatic person. I know, right? Like, never would have guessed that Carly is dramatic. Never would have guessed that Carly loves to do acting with her stories and to be really animated. But when I was a little girl, probably about 2 or 3, and I was learning how to talk, I would watch Cinderella, the Disney version, the animated version. And when Cinderella's stepsisters came in and they tore apart her beautiful dress, Cinderella had spent all this time wanting to get her dress done. And of course, she didn't have the time to do it, but her mice friends helped her and they got it ready for her. They're like, look, Cinderella, here you go. You've done all this work and we're going to give you this beautiful dress. And Cinderella was so happy to have this dress. She was so grateful to her friends. And she comes down the stairs, and what does her stepmother do? Her stepmother is like, I never go back on my word. And these beads give it just the right touch. Don't you think so, Drizella? And of course, Drizella realizes they're her beads and she gets pissed off and she rips the beads off. If you have seen Cinderella, you know where I'm going. If you haven't seen Cinderella, like this story, I know Disney seems to be like, oh, it's for kids. It's not for kids. In fact, Disney tells the stories that the more I get into what I'm doing as a coach, the more I see that all this time there was another layer under those Disney movies that a lot of people don't see. They see the funny characters, they see the songs, they see the dancing, but behind all that is one thing. A dream is a wish your heart makes. And if you lose all your faith, your fairy godmother can't be here. But because you have courage and you're kind, magic happens. Kindness is everything. Love is everything. That is the message of the Disney movies, is that love conquers all. And in this case with Cinderella, as she runs into the garden after her dress is ripped to shreds, and she throws herself down on the bench. And this is what I used to do as a little girl, is I would run from the room and then I'd run to the couch and then I would throw myself down dramatically, just like those Disney princesses. And I would go, I just can't believe anymore. And like, that was my thing. And then I would pretend to be Cinderella. And I'm pretty sure that at one point my parents had this on VHS. It's probably gone by now, but that was my thing. And even now when that scene comes on, it brings that to my heart. And my daughter is very dramatic and she does these things too. And she throws herself down. But the fact is, yeah, you can throw yourself down. But if you lose all your faith, and if you believe truly that there is nothing left for you and you're just going to lay down and die, then yeah, no fairy godmother is going to come. But that's not what happened. Cinderella was just brokenhearted and she was releasing those emotions. She's like, this terrible thing has happened to me. And I'm just so upset right now because nothing is working the way I want it to. and nothing is going the way I wanted. And all I wanted was to go to the ball. Like, was that really too much to ask? All I wanted was to have a home for my kids to live in, and now my house is burned down. Was that really too much to ask? Did I really need to get kicked down even further when my life was falling apart, when my marriage wasn't working, when this horrible thing happened, and now my house is burned down? Now we have a pandemic. Now I'm stuck in this environment, and I have to be with my partner at the moment, but I can tell, like, we cannot make this work. It's just not going to work. No matter how much we want it to work, it's not going to work. But we're cooped up together. We've got to make the best of this. And I need to be able to make some money because I just found out that he's got another woman pregnant, and it is his, and the child support is going to her, which is money for my kids. And our legacy is going down the toilet. How are we going to do this? And now everything's shut down and I've got no money and my house has been burnt down. It's like Cinderella. I've got nothing left. But if you lose all your faith, your fairy godmother can't be here. And I had some fairy godmothers, because the truth is that I still had that deep dream deep inside of me. I still had that feeling of, no, if I completely give up, there is nothing left and I might as well just lay down and die. But I can't lay down and die, because I've got my children counting on me, and I've got family counting on me, and I've got loved ones counting on me. And not only that, but there is a beautiful, beautiful ball that I could go to. And sure, right now I can't get there, and I have no idea how I'm going to get there, but one day I'm going to get to that ball. One day that's going to happen. It may not happen today, but I have had this dream. It is a wish that my heart has made, and it is here. And for me, that wish was to see mothers empowered in their pregnancies and births, and have birth trauma be a thing of the past. That dream also for my children was that they were going to have a better life than what I had had growing up, that they were going to have more opportunities, because they are amazing little people. And my son has this compassion for others. He loves to watch the Darman videos that are on YouTube, and he loves the humanitarian aspect. And most of all, he wants to help animals, and he wants to save the environment. And he's always talking about how he wants to save the animals. And he's upset that there's so many endangered species and so many animals that have been wiped out. His compassion is like something that I just want to amplify. And I know that if I don't stand in my power and my dreams and show him the map of how to do it, that he's just going to take some 9-to-5 job, and he's just never going to do that. He's not going to become that voice that we need out there. And my daughter's got her own magic and her own path, and she's still 7, so we're figuring it out. But I know that this is one strong little girl, one strong, fiery, beautiful, compassionate little girl who could change the world. And that's the thing, is that as a mom, it's not just about you. You're not just giving to your kids and giving to your kids hoping they'll survive. You want them to thrive, because it's not about raising forever kids. It's about raising the next generation into human consciousness. And if your kids, your beautiful, magical little angels, always see you sacrificing for them, they're going to grow up and sacrifice their own dreams. And they're going to have their families, and they're just going to do whatever they're told to do. And they're going to follow that path until one day it's just not working. And you as the parent are going to watch them, and it's like, what happened? You had so many dreams. You were so vibrant when you were a child. And then suddenly you got to high school and you had those dreams crushed, and you gave up, and then you went the practical route. And yeah, you're making good money. That's great. But you're not happy. Baby, I can see you're not happy. And your marriage is falling apart, and your kids are not happy. And it's breaking my heart for you. And but you're telling me, no, Mom, that dream that I had was stupid and impractical, and I can't do it. And the reason is because they internalize that. So I knew, it's like, my children have to have me standing for their dreams, no matter how crazy they sound. I need to be able to give them the opportunities so that they could actually do it. I need to be able to make some money that is going to not be touched by this other woman who has unfortunately gotten tangled into this web, things happen. And I'm just going to say it, my ex, like we're friends. Okay. Like I can stand for his growth, even though he's made some mistakes and he's getting better. And we were able to part ways pretty amicably. I just knew our path was done. And my mentor, Annie Lala, has said, like, every single relationship you have, it's either the one or practice for the one. There's only the one, but everybody else is practice. So I had practice. I had a lot of practice. There was some hard parts that really sucked, but it taught me my capacity to love and to forgive and to be able to stand for that greatness. And I mean, he had his lessons too, and it's practice. And now we can just move past this. Actually, on Friday, we're going to go and see the Puss in Boots movie. There's a school movie night. And it was falling on his weekend. He's taking the kids again this weekend. And I'm like, well, you can take my ticket and you can go and take the kids to this instead. And he's like, well, don't you want to see it? I'm like, well, I do. He's like, well, why don't we just go together? I mean, we're friends now. We can do that. I'm like, it won't be weird. And he's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. You want to see it? I want to see it. I'll get the snacks. You get the tickets. And then I'll take the kids and you'll have a nice weekend. And then I get to go and get my hair done while he's got the kids. But I'm like, yeah, okay. And I mean, he's coming to my daughter's birthday party too. Like, we're just going to do a nice little family thing on her birthday. We're going to go to dinner and I'm going to do cake. And like, that's what happens though. When you fill your life with joy, when you are able to release and forgive people, when you're able to come from love. And that happens when you start to take care of yourself. So as men seem to just know instinctively that they can just go and do things and they have no guilt around buying toys for themselves. They have no guilt around going on trips for themselves. They have no guilt on taking that time to rest and nap after a really long work day. But as women, we've really internalized this idea of serving to the point where we are pouring from empty cups. You can't do that. However, when you notice that your cup is empty and you have that crisis and you're down on the floor and you're giving up and you're like, nothing is working, I might as well just give up and lay down in the dirt. This goes back to Cinderella. The other side is when you fill your cup, when the fairy godmother comes in and fills your cup for you, however that comes, what it does is it allows you to transform and be more yourself. So yes, the fairy godmother is all magical and everything, but in one of the stories, there was no actual fairy godmother. In the original Grimm's fairy tale of Cinderella, because the one that's on Disney is actually based on Charles Perrault's model. And I actually studied this way back in college. I took a introduction to children's literature, and this was one of them. We were studying fairy tales. I know, right? That was a really fun class, and I had a lot of fun. And I just took it just because it was interesting and just because it was fun. Had nothing to do with a major or anything. I just wanted to take it because it looked interesting. Back in my 20s, I was very good when I was younger, before I got responsibilities and had the world kind of crush my dreams. I was very good at just doing things just because I like to do them. And then I lost that because as you get older, you start to think as a woman, I need to get more serious. I need to make sure that my children are taken care of and that my husband is taken care of and my friends are taken care of. And if I have a business, I need to make sure my business is taken care of. And there's no more time for me. And that's okay because I can just keep giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and giving until one day you're laying on the floor and you are just throwing everything out the window, just like Cinderella did. She thought, as long as I keep giving to the step family, eventually I'll get love in return. But the step family was not in that right mindset, and they just kept taking advantage because Cinderella did not have strong boundaries. She just kept pleasing. So of course the stepmother and the stepsisters were like, well, we're just going to exploit her because we don't have to step into anything. And there's actually a third movie of Cinderella where her stepsister, one of them, actually becomes a pretty awesome person. The other two, not so much. They're in a lower vibration, but Anastasia actually does turn around. I invite you to watch these Disney movies. They are really good. But anyway, back to it, is that the original Cinderella, there was no fairy godmother. Cinderella asked her father, when her stepsisters were asking for clothes and parasols and expensive gifts while he was away on his business, because he was a merchant, she asked for one thing: bring me back the twig that your hat brushes against. And so he brought that twig back to her. And so Cinderella planted that twig. She planted a seed, basically, and then she watered it every day. And she sat upon this twig as it grew into a tree, and she would pray in front of that tree. And that tree grew until one day, when her father was gone, and her stepmother was telling her, you can't go to the ball unless you pick up all these lentils and finish your chores on time. Cinderella called to the birds, and the birds from the trees came in and they picked up the lentils for her. You see, the metaphor here is that Cinderella took a little small thing and she planted that seed. It was for herself. It was for herself. And that thing that she had for herself, that one tiny thing that kept her going, turned into a magnificent tree that allowed the birds to come and help her. And then from that point on, Cinderella wanted to go to the ball, and she couldn't because she did not have a dress. And the birds actually dropped a dress from the sky, I believe it was, in the Into the Woods musical, which is one of my absolute favorite musicals. And don't get me started, I will sing the whole damn thing. But the birds come down with this dress, and it's a dress of gold, and the shoes are of gold. So it wasn't actually glass, it was gold slippers. But translations mess it up. So it doesn't actually make sense to have glass slippers on cobblestone. I mean, what were they thinking? But the thing about stories is that they were told in an oral tradition, and then people would change things, or they would have different translations and things would get lost in translation. So then when you put it into English, it's like, oh, a slipper of glass instead of gold, and it doesn't make sense, and people just go with it. But that was the idea, is that she watered this tree, she was nourished by this tree, and it was this thing for herself. And that's really it, is that when you start to see those opportunities for yourself. So when the pandemic hit, and when the fire hit, and I was throwing myself down and crying, there was one thing that kept me going. And that was this: I had a mission to find a way to get my message out there to moms. So when everything shut down, and I saw that what was happening in the medical system was going to just keep getting worse, I saw the opportunity for women to rise up. And I saw the opportunity for women to have more hands-off births. And I had all the experience and knowledge inside of my little hands and inside my heart that I'd done this for so many people. But now it's like, I can't just hold this to myself, and I can't just give this to a few people. I need to write a book. So over the summer, after finding out that my now ex had in fact been the father, like if it was a Maury Povich episode, it would have been like, you are the father kind of thing. I'm like, okay, I really got to get this book out there, because I got to start getting some money in for my children. This was, again, a very small thought. I need this money for my children. So I had that spark of hope. I had another thing. I had the right community, the right support, the right environment to thrive in. I found the Transforming Birth Luminaries. I had a friend, Michelle. She started this. One of the things about women is that we create communities around each other. So while a lot of people were isolated, we were not. We got on Zoom every single week on a Friday, and we would just talk for an hour. We would just share wisdom for an hour. It was an online women's circle around the intention of birth and serving our clients. And through them, they said to me, Carly, you have been doing this for the last 8 years. You are one of us. You're not just in here just like as like a little pity thing. No, we actually want you here. We actually want you with us. We believe in you. And you go write your book and be a childbirth educator. And in fact, once I heard that, once I recognized that, yeah, I could actually do this, empowering moms didn't just have to be some little mom blog. That is when Michelle actually ended up creating a logo for me. The beautiful logo that you see on all my stuff. She dropped it in my inbox just like that. She just dropped it, said, there you go. It's nice, it's professional, it's clean cut, and it was exactly what I needed in that moment. And by doing that, by filling my cup, I was able to then go on multiple trainings, multiple boot camps, multiple webinars, multiple women's accountability groups, and network with more people, while also taking care of my kids during this pandemic, while also dealing with the fallout of what was going on with my now ex, while also trying to rebuild my credit and rebuild my, like, basically my resources, because I'd had a house fire and I had barely anything. Like, I was starting from basically nothing and trying to build myself back up. But I was able to do that because of what I really needed, was that mindset, that faith that this was going to work, that something was going to give, that there were fairy godmothers out there. And lo and behold, I find the virtual coach community. You know, the rest is history. I've got my mentors standing behind me. I've got my friends standing behind me. I've got people in my highest growth and potential. And I just, now that I know this, I can just say one thing, and that's this. When shit hits the fan, remember there is a fairy godmother out there. Just trust it, believe it in your heart. No matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, the dream that you wish will come true. And, you know, I've got so many beautiful dreams that are still coming to fruition. And I just wanted to leave you with that, because it was just a accumulation today of a few conversations that I was having both online, on my Facebook, and also what I was hearing in the messages, and on the calls, and just my own insights and what I woke up with today. It's like, yeah, it's that simple. And if you really need that inspiration to go out and chase your dreams, you need to look no further than Disney Plus or whatever, if you've got a Disney movie in your collection. I mean, I subscribe to Disney Plus just so that I have the entire Disney movie collection. I do have quite a few DVDs that I did save from the fire too, but I love Disney. My mom loves Disney. She shared that love with me. I had Disney characters on my wall when I was a baby. My daughter is obsessed with Disney princesses, and so am I. In fact, in the summertime, depending on the schedule, I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I got the ticket anyway. There is a Beauty and the Beast experience, like an escape room down in Vancouver. And I'm going to look for a Belle dress. But first I have to find out what my schedule is actually going to look like in the summer, to see if it's going to be worth it for me to dress up, or if I'm just going to have to pass on my ticket and let my kids go with someone else. But I knew that my little girl will just absolutely go crazy for this. And since I am not able to take her to Disneyland right now and go and meet the princesses, because I totally intend to go with her and we're going to hunt down the princesses, and my son's probably going to be like, Mom, and I'll be like, I don't care. I don't care that they're in costume. They are real to me, and I'm going to chase down every single one of them and get a picture with every single one of them, because it's just my dream. I love the princesses. So that's just it, is when you follow your dreams and you really do put that effort in, and you find that small piece of joy, even if it's just as simple as planting a little flower or a little twig and sitting in front of it and watering it until it becomes a tree. It's that. Find those little sparks of joy. They grow And then you feel so expansive, and then you can get more stuff done. That's the other secret, is I went to the beach all freaking summer, and I still wrote a book. I built my YouTube channel. I had a high level client that I coached to an amazing empowered birth experience. I was also like doing other little projects on the side. And then in September, it was just like, let's go. Like I've got this. And even through into September, it was warm enough that I was going to the beach. So yeah, go find your beach. I'll talk to you soon. Love you.